and welcome back to BACH Edit. Today we are talking about the lasting importance of the BACH cello suites. And I'm so excited to welcome two distinguished guests, my good friends and colleagues, Alberto and Helen. So I'm going to let them do a quick introduction of themselves now.
My name is Alberto. I am a graduate student here at USC. I just finished artist diploma in performance. I'm from Mexico.
Cool. I'm Helen Campbell. I'm an English and Spanish major here, but I'm studying cello as a performance certificate, and I'm enjoying my time here.
Amazing. And one thing that brings us all together beyond all playing cello here is that we love BACH, and it's something that we practice and play on a regular basis. And I think we all have very unique connections to it, which is what I'm excited to talk about today. But here is the integral thing that we want you as a listener to take away. The BACH cello suites remain integral in the canon of cello repertoire. Before we get into what makes the BACH cello suites so exciting and important to cellists around the world, I think it's important that we have a good historical background to set the scene. And Alberto, with your extended study and knowledge of BACH, I was hoping that you'd be able to offer some comments on that.
Well, I think there's a lot of talk about, just Bach in himself is just like such an important figure, right, for the Baroque era. So I guess it's worth like speaking a little about just the suite form. Like it is like just like a set of different dances that they were used in that time in the Baroque era, like in the French court is where they originated. So before Bach's time, those dances, the movements were meant to be danced actually, but by Bach's time, they were already like just instrumental music. So they were usually comprised about 6 movements. Particularly the cello suites are like almost the same structure. They have like the prelude, that is the first movement of all. They have 3 movements that are stay the same, and actually 4. There is one set of optional movements and a last movement. So the second movement is usually an allemande. The third should be a courant. The fourth is a sarabande. Then there comes the optional one, and I will just say a little more. And the last movement is a jig. So the optional movements are 3 different dances too. There's minuets for the first 2 suites, loures for the third and fourth, and gavottes for the last 2 suites. So we have 6 suites in different tonalities. Yeah, so that's basically like the form. So we have dances, we have the prelude, that is just like an improvisatory movement, and all of the other dances have their singular like character, and I think that's what it makes such an important piece to learn, because we have to like embrace the character of each movement and be able to play different kind of music that kind of resembles itself. Like the material is very like derivative from the tonality and from the prelude sometimes. I think it's very interesting to think about the sources, because I'm sure you hear with our professor at school and with other professors in other schools or master classes, we always have like this Bach moment where they say like, oh, I think you should use this edition or that edition.
Yeah, the Baron Rider.
Yeah, just go for the Baron Rider 320, or I think recently, 2017, I want to say, or maybe earlier, they just released another Baron Rider.
I didn't know that.
Either.
Did you?
Yeah, no.
Yeah, it's Talle is the editor. So it has some different things, especially for the 5th suite. I think it has some like different embellishments and some things that are different. I guess in the whole suite, but that's what I remember. It was like more prominent. And I think the most like the main issue with this is that we don't actually have like a Bach autograph.
Mm-hmm.
So he should have wrote like a handwritten manuscript in his Cotton period. He was living in Cotton, but unfortunately this manuscript was lost. So the only like surviving official sources we have two copies. One is from Anna Magdalena Bach, that was his second wife, I believe.
There were many.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we definitely have
Kids,
to fact check that one if she's the second one. And there is a Peter Kellner manuscript. He was also like a very important Bach copyist. And we have two other like secondary sources that are like also manuscripts, but they are anonymous. And of course the whole problem about is that these four sources have like different even sometimes different notes. So there was like bars that are completely different. I mean, I'm sure if you have time to check your like critical edition, the Baron Writer big books with the blue one has the a lot of like different like versions of the same bars. So that of course makes like a lot of possibilities, because you can have like the Anna Magdalena source as your main source, and or just the Kenner, or try to mix those. So I think that's the main issue. Like we have like not an actual official, and they are so different that people want to think that maybe this edition was wrong or the other one was wrong. So that.
Yeah. Well, I think that's a great segue, and thank you, Alberto, for all of that incredible information. But I think this is a great segue into the next question, which I'm going to present to Helen first, is if we have so many discrepancies and challenges with figuring out who truly wrote the pieces, why do we continue to play them and put so much emphasis on them? Why do we love the Bach cello suites as cellists?
I mean, they're just iconic. Public schools brought them back in the 20th century and kind of brought them back to our attention. And ever since then, cellists can't get enough, really. I would say one thing that makes them so special is even though a lot of the form stays the same from suite to suite with the prelude, allemande, courant, sarabande, and gigue, all of those movements are so different in each suite. Even though they're the same type of dance, there's never two dances that are the same at all. Even if there are some parallels between like the first and fourth suite, for example. Another thing that's really great about them is at least the first like 2 or 3 suites are not so technically challenging that they're impossible for a young cellist to play. So that's like a really good, easy way for a younger cellist to get into the real important repertoire of the cello. And that's, I think, a great way to build enthusiasm from a young age. I know I started playing the first suite when I was in the 8th grade. I had to prepare some movements for an audition to my high school, and ever since then I've been studying about a suite per year, which has just been a great experience. I think another thing that makes them so great from a technical standpoint for cellists is that each suite seems to stretch your hands in a different way. Like, I don't know if I can explain it to it if you don't play cello, if you don't play the suites, but I mean, the first suite is just this very first position square G major type of hand shape, and the second suite has a lot of double stops and things like that. Some really difficult chords. The third suite is very scalar, and the fourth suite is just a mess of extensions and so much that is really difficult, but also incredibly rewarding. I would say that you can take some sort of technical thing away from each of the suites, particularly the last two, which are both have a really unusual way of being played on the cello. The fifth suite is played scordatura with the lowered the A strings.
Could you explain that to our listeners real quick? Just
so, scordatura is when you have, I don't know if it's only string instruments, but I'm going to say it's a string instrument, and you tune one or more of the strings to a different tuning than the standard one. So normal cello is A, D, G, C, C being the lowest string, but the fifth cello suite is in C minor is G, D, G, C. So you tune the A string down a whole step, and it creates like an entirely new resonance and sound, and it just is a really cool way to experiment with scordatura playing. And the one I haven't played, the sixth suite, wasn't even written for cello. It was written for cello piccolo, which had 5 strings.
Yeah, the instrument is viola pomposa. That is still like it's not. There is not a clear like image of
what that was.
Yeah,
wow.
Because there was like a recent theory about the instrument was like more in the violin kind of playing, over the shoulder. So I think some luthiers have been like rebuilding like the really big viola, the
violoncello de Spagna.
The violoncello Spalla, yeah, exactly. Yeah. So there were some theories that maybe that was the instrument that all these suites were played.
Learn something new every day.
Pretty cool, yeah.
Well, this is, again, you're just setting up all the segues, but I wanted to go back to you, Alberto, because one thing that I love about Alberto is that he's an incredible mentor, and he's been around this music a lot longer than I have, and I really love speaking to him about the way that he comes back to different things, whether it be education, different sorts of rep, all these things. He's just so wise. And with that, I was wondering, Alberto, how do you come back to these suites again and again and reimagine them and just find the joy in them in new ways?
Well, it's I just want to say about Helen's comment. I think that, I mean, looking at suites suite like as a technical thing to build. I think the first time I played like the first 4 suites at least, I did it almost like with my previous teacher vision. So I was doing like his, he liked the Hugo Becker edition, so it's like a 19th century, like 20th century old man edition. So the vision was like the music of that time, the longer lines, a lot of sound, vibrato, no open strings. So for me, coming back for a suite, it's almost like a new opportunity to take something new from it. So of course I've been like researching. I like this comfort about not having the source and everything. Just made me want to just learn more, in order to be more informed about my performance. So each time I return to a suite, it's like a new opportunity to explore something different. So I recently, like last semester, I played the 3rd suite, and I played that before, of course, but it was so much different to the first time I played, just because I researched about the dances, about how they are different. They are like different styles, like French style, Italian style, and even though they are like French suites, because all the names are in French, right? So it's supposedly French. There are some different kind of dances. So it's just the more you start to know, or at least for me, like I've been doing this music thing, this cello thing for a long time. So I learn more and just try to be different about how I played, even though it's the same piece I played like a lot of time, and I guess I would say just trying to learn more about the background and just try to also play it different as I did. Like trying to question, why did I play it this way? Why am I playing now in this way? What's the idea? So yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it can be really satisfying to go back to a suite you've already played. Over the summer, I've just thought it'd be fun to look back at the 1st and 3rd suites. Just, I don't know, I kind of wanted to be playing all the odd numbered suites for some reason. And I was like, playing the first suite again, I was like, oh, this is... I actually kind of know what to do with it now. Like, back when I first played it, like, I didn't know what a cadence was because I was, like, 13. So now you can go back on all these things with so much more knowledge that you're not as wrapped up in the technical, and you can just kind of phrase it in a more fun and mature way. I think it's really a good thing to go back to, and it's definitely a comforting experience.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure, the technical stuff. Yeah, right. We are so much more able to do things now.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And each time you go back to it, it's like a different challenge. And it matches the stage of life you're in and the musical period that you're experiencing in your life. And I think that's just so special. And maybe that's why we have such a strong connection with it, is because it mirrors what stage of life we're in.
Yeah. There's this like theory that some people discuss. It's like an analogy. I don't know if I buy into it, but a lot of people claim that the 6 suites are like representative of a human life, with the G major suite being childhood, D minor, like a stormy adolescence, the C major suite, young adulthood, the E flat suite is middle age, the C minor suite is old age and death, and then the 6th suite, some people say, is like resurrection. I mean, you know, it's like, I don't know if I really think that's what the purpose of each suite was meant to be or anything, but it's kind of a fun idea.
Yeah, it's kind of nice to think.
Yeah.
Well, the last thing that I'd like to talk about with both of you is why we think it's so important to keep these pieces alive through both study and performance, which is a big question, but I think one that's really important and also very close to what we believe.
Oh, should I start? Wow. I guess there are like many ways of thinking about this. I mean, for the, like, as a musician, there's just like great music. Like every single of those suites, every single dance is just like so beautiful music. And also like the idea of having to, you know, as a cellist, we spend half of our time playing ensembles, right? Just because we have so many opportunities, like quartets, trios, with piano or with strings, or orchestra for sure. Yeah, so we always are used to playing ensemble. So this is like the most prominent of the solo repertoire of our instrument, because it's very hard to just technically to build like these long lines, the articulation, the clarity. So from a technique point of view, it's just great music. So it's like a great piece to learn how to project, I guess. Yeah.
Thank you.
I also think there's at least in my opinion, there's this really strong satisfaction that you can have when you've kind of come to the end of the time that you're going to study a particular suite for now. So like, if you're just wrapping up a suite, if you play the whole thing in studio class or on a recital or something, I feel like there's such finality in being able to say, oh, I played this whole suite, beginning to end, and it's just bookended by the prelude and the jig. And I think that's one reason I love playing the suite so much, is because every time I learn one, I get to like present it as a final product, and I find that very satisfying. And one day I hope to do all 6 as like a very large thing. But of course, when I say final product, I don't mean like
for that moment.
Yeah, it's just for the moment. You're never done forever. That's what makes them so great.
For sure, yeah, it's very replayable music.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I always love sitting down with good friends, but even more good friends who are cellists, and it's such an honor to have both of you here today and to hear your thoughts, because this is music that we live, we breathe, and we do it all again, almost every day, truly, which is unlike anything else that we do. And I'm just so fortunate that we were able to sit down and talk today. So thank you again, Helen Alberto. It has been such a pleasure. And listeners, please come back for another episode of BACH at It. See you next time.